Economic processes, how do they influence the world community and everyday life of people? What trends will be popular among consumers and how will the international markets evolve? For further details, watch the program People and Economy.
Today in the program, the youth is the power of economy, the last generation or a hope for the bright future, and what specialties for young people to get. More than 50,000 young Britons aged between 16 and 18 years old are deprived of education and work, don't have the skills and are not provided with personal documents. This data was published in the Out of Sight report of British analysts. According to the most recent UN report, almost 90% of all young people live in the developing countries of Africa, Southeast Asia and Latin America. And according to experts, in the next decade, the economic landscape of the world can be changed globally, because youth has always been a driving force of social, economic and political reforms. In the ranking of the world's youngest billionaires, whose age is less than 40 years, in 2014, 31 people were marked. 13 of them are the Americans. However, the youngest billionaire was Chinese Perrine Kay. She is 24 and her fortune is estimated at $1.3 billion. Throughout the world, it is a norm to distinguish different generations by age. At that, the age limits which allow making such a classification of young people vary depending on the country. The lower limit of the youth is set between 14 and 16 years, the top one between 25 and 30 or even more. In some countries, people under the age of 40 are usually attributed to the youth. In addition to age qualification, this social group shares similar problems. So what are the main problems? It is clear that when a student graduates from university, it does not give him or her guarantee of employment according to profession obtained. If, for example, a student, when studying in the university, tried any other profession, like sales manager, office manager or anything alike, and he or she enjoyed it at that time, there is a high probability that he or she will work there even after graduating and getting a diploma. There is also a problem of absence of any working experience. The absence of jobs has a negative impact on young people, including those in developed countries. The US Census Bureau released data showing that nearly 20% of the representatives of the American Generation Z, or people aged from 18 to 34 years, live in poverty. At the same time, the United Nations noted that from the salvation of the problems of today's younger generation, not only modern but future world community depends. Every third student, being a young specialist, strives to leave the native place of living and moves either within the boundaries of native country or abroad in order to work. What are the reasons? Well, I can suppose that the main reason is a wish to earn more. This is probably the most important reason. Another one is if a student just can't find the job corresponding to his or her specialty in a native city, he or she will definitely try to go somewhere in the bigger city or even abroad. According to the UN report on the situation of young people, the number of migrant workers in the last few years has grown significantly. Analysts estimate the power of migration in 230 million people. 70 million of them are the youth under the age of 29. For comparison, the population of Germany in 2013 slightly exceeded 80 million people. It all depends on the point of view. According to the recent studies of large recruitment agencies, youth, when choosing a future job, usually give preference to wages. Career prospects fade into the second and third plans. The experts of the labor market have an opposite opinion. In the first place, for young professionals should be the opportunity for career growth. In the second, the image of the company selected, and only then, wages. Frankly speaking, there are many factors that influence the future profession choice. Family is among them. If there is a dynasty of dentists or lawyers, this will also affect the choice of youngsters, and later there is a higher probability that precisely this profession will be in priority. There are many popular professions actually, some of them are quite highly paid, so all these factors influence the choice of future student. Many specialists with high education and work experience cannot realize their knowledge and skills in the current economic situation. While some of them give up, others make radical steps, in particular, change the profession. The cost of retraining differs from $0 and up to the full cost of higher education. In some cases, it is sufficient to obtain a certificate in specialized courses, and you are a specialist in demand again. Russian scientists have studied the most productive part of young people and found some characteristics characteristic trends. For example, for the representatives of Generation Z, careerism is not inherent. Instead, such youth is ready to earn within the available amounts and does not pursue in wealth. Modern youth wants to work in the sphere of sales. Almost each third CV and almost each third job offer make an evidence of this. Next position where youngsters are striving to work is administrative personnel. It is especially popular among students who still don't have any working experience, but they are able to earn money in this sphere. Tourism, restaurants, hosting business and consulting are also main professional spheres. Despite the fact that engineers jostle marketers, lawyers and economists, mass retraining in those very scarce and desired professions cannot be seen. On the contrary, for a long time designers, PR managers and programmers were in trend. After many studies, sociologists have come to the conclusion that today's young generation quite often prefer freelance. Freelance is very convenient for young specialists because while they are studying, all their efforts and brains are concentrated on this, and freelance allows getting some additional money and experience during some free time. By interviewing more than 300,000 high school graduates, sociologists have come to the conclusion that the most popular directions of study at the university are management, followed by medicine, namely nursing. Natural sciences such as biology close the top three. Newspapers, special websites and even social networks. There are many ways to search for a job, but at the beginning the applicant needs to decide on his or her own purposes and expectations. Passing special courses and training won't be unnecessary. Still, good CV remains the hallmark. After all, the employer spends average 2 or 3 minutes on reading it, and this time should work in your favor. We always recommend our job seekers to pay great attention first of all towards their resumes. The most important points in the CV are the education, working experience and personal information. It is inevitably necessary to know how to tell about yourself, let's say how to sell yourself to the potential employer. What do we usually write in the information about ourselves? It is important not only to describe our previous positions and working places, but also our duties in order to make our hirer understand what we know and can do and what we are to learn further. Social networks, blogs, flash mobs, there is a plenty of hobbies among today's youngsters. At that, in recent time, the interest towards sport among the younger generation decreases, and the older a person becomes, the less desire appears to lead an active life. For comparison, 60% of young people aged from 15 to 24 are involved in sports. Later, this figure falls to 45%. The data was published by European sociologists. We have to open more sports sections and popularize them in schools. Like in Europe, make children get interested since kindergarten. Another part of youth, instead of immaturity, chooses extreme. Parkour, a passion which originated in France, today is spreading around the world, dragging along an increasing number of young people. Skateboarding or skating on a special board is another popular activity of today's youth. Snowboarding is not inferior to it. This pleasure is not among the cheapest ones if buy all the equipment yourself. However, it is always possible to take equipment for rent. Extreme is usually what we are lack of in terms of adrenaline. For example, if you are going in for extreme sports, you get adrenaline to your blood and start feeling the life better. It is good if person likes to do different sports and if extreme ones are among them. Today we have many varieties: snowboard, skates, BMXs and many others. Solution of the problems of young people as well as their leisure lies on the shoulders of the state. For this, countries have developed special programs. For example, in Germany there is a plan which emphasizes the importance of education in the field of culture. In Sweden, the main emphasis is made on attracting young people to the international cooperation and participation in public life. Globally, the youth is unified with the variety of international movements and competitions. How do young people spend their free time and what issues do they care about? Social network users are actively discussing. Time to start hard training now. My next fight announced for February 21st at Harrow Leisure Center. Tickets will be. I wish I had more time in my life to do actual leisure reading. The youth unemployment has affected virtually the entire world. Kazakhstan is no exception, and here many programs to support young people are being developed. These measures have already helped to reduce the unemployment level by almost 1.5%. In 2010, in Kazakhstan, the level of youth unemployment among people aged from 15 to 24 years was more than 5%. Now, according to the results of the second quarter of 2014, this figure made up less than 4%. Technical specialists will be the most popular in Kazakhstan within 3 years. Today, the demand for engineering personnel, according to various opinion polls, is almost 14%. There is a shortage of doctors by 13%, as well as of teachers by more than 10%. Engineer is a very important profession. Without them and also without some technicians, it will be hard to live, because apart from what people are selling or promoting, or apart from those services that bank workers offer, we absolutely need those who build houses or repair production facilities or create robots and other techniques. We won't be able to manage without them. The second direction which Kazakhstan pays special attention to is attracting young people to sports. Experts have noted the growing interest in various types of sports, and this trend is associated with the ongoing international tournaments in the country, in which Kazakh athletes have won prizes. There is a certain movement. Let's take even single combating. Much more youngsters are now getting involved in it. Playing sports are inferior to those like wrestling, boxing or athletics. So I think it is on the hate now. Just look, we have weightlifters and boxers and some others. This sport should be promoted. Salary is one of the most important criteria for employment. Experts point out that frequently high demands of applicants themselves become the problem of youth unemployment. In particular, salary expectations. Experts have estimated where specialists are being paid the most. By the results of the last year, the highest level of the average wage was among the Americans $4,500 a month. In Germany and Japan it was over $3,000, followed by England with $2,900 and France $2,700. Applied and precise sciences in Kazakhstan have great potential. The authorities of the country for 2 years have invested in this area more than $70 million, provided by the Republican budget for years 2012 to 2014. In this case, such an embedding allowed building specialized schools, universities and attracting young people to science. Research workers are used to solve programming tasks, and usually they needed 5 years for that. Somebody told them to post it in internet and ask youngsters for help, and they did so, and the task was solved in 3 or 4 days. There are many such cases, for example, with young entrepreneurs, whom now the society supports much, because they really have creative thinking. While we still are young, we can think more creative and go beyond the boundaries of what we have told to do. There is still no Silicon Valley in Kazakhstan, but that does not stop to reinvent something new, and innovators are mainly the youth. In November this year, 27 Kazakhstani school children defended the honor of the country at the International Olympics on Robotics, which was held in Sochi. The tournament was attended by children from 47 countries. Kazakhstan won the bronze. Such advances have become possible also through business interest towards innovation. At that, an important role of the state in the development of science and education has to be recognized. According to the forecast of Forbes magazine, in 10 years the list of the most popular professions will include GR managers. Those are the people who know how to communicate professionally with governmental officials and state agencies. Experts in the field of alternative energy will also be in demand. At that, nurses will fall into the list of the most popular professions. According to scientists from the University of Southern Denmark, the number of elderly people on the planet aged 80 years by 2030 will double, and only 30% will be able to manage without help. The rest should be supervised.